On the programme, the largest container ship in the UK fleet completes its maiden voyage.
We're absolutely delighted that a ship like this, such a brand new, huge vessel, is being entrusted to our flag.
Closing the skills gap, attracting a new seafaring generation. And how UK shipping is finding new competitive energy to take on the global challenge.
It's one of the greatest businesses that the UK has.
Hello and a very warm welcome to a maritime nation. I'm Natasha Kaplinsky. In spite of big changes in the way the world does business, UK shipping is still one of the most important contributors to our economy. A staggering 95% of our international trade is transported by sea, delivering vital food, medicines and other goods to industries, shops and homes. But first, it's the third largest ship in the world, carries 200,000 tonnes of goods and has the power of 900 cars. One of a new breed of super ships, the CC Kerguelen, has set a new benchmark in global shipping, proudly flying the British flag. Joanna Simpson was in Southampton to welcome her.
The largest container ship in the UK fleet is completing its maiden voyage, docking in Southampton. Named after a great explorer, the CC Kerguelen transports everything from iPads to Ferraris in 18,000 TEUs. It's the first of 6 new vessels which will be sailing in 2015. CMA CGM, one of the world's leading maritime container shipping companies, says this ship raises the benchmark in global shipping and has chosen to fly the UK flag.
We like a quality flag. We've got a very expensive ship carrying a lot of cargo, which is worth actually many times more than the ship is worth. So we need reliability, we need safety, and the UK flag has a very good reputation internationally. And we get good service. So it's one of the reasons why we put quite a few ships with the UK.
This ship is the first in a new fleet. It has the capacity for 18,000 containers. It's longer than 4 football pitches and is taller than the Empire State Building. But despite this, it has among the fastest transit times in the market and is even reducing its carbon emissions. It's sailing a prestigious transit route. The CC Kerguelen is deployed on the FAL 1, the French Asia line, which links Asia to Europe. The route provides a direct link from Central and South China to Northern Europe. CMA CGM says it gives European importers the fastest transit times in the market, stopping in Southampton and Hamburg on a fixed day each week. It takes 77 days to do a complete round trip. The crew is multicultural, led by the captain from Croatia. It has the largest proportion of personnel coming from the Philippines, who now make up around 40% of the maritime sector. As the crew is so large, there are more facilities on board, including a modest swimming pool, to help them exercise whilst at sea.
Normally, we are running about 27 crew members to run the ship. That means we are divided. Deck crew in engine crew and catering department. It is only 2 persons, but it is there.
To ensure a ship of this size maintains a good speed requires an advanced engine. So far it has reduced its carbon emissions compared to its predecessors by 10%. A quality vessel requires a quality flag, and the impact of choosing the UK fleet for prestige can't be underestimated. The Maritime Coast Guard Agency says this highlights to other companies that Britain is a preferred place to do business.
We know that the UK flag is a quality flag. In other words, it's seen worldwide as a symbol of high quality, high degrees of safety and very good standards of operating. So we're absolutely delighted that a ship like this, such a brand new, huge vessel, is being entrusted to our flag by CMA, the company. And so, more of them please, because it's very important that the UK flag has a decent size and weight, because, we want to carry influence. That's influence for positive safety at sea and for good operations, and bringing a brand new ship like this with such a good company is very positive for us.
The 18,000 containers will transport all manner of products and possessions around the world for many years to come. The UK Chamber of Shipping estimates that every person in the UK will purchase something brought in on this one container ship alone. CMA CGM says it transports 90% of international maritime trade, which is why it has taken such care to invest in its new fleet, and feels it's best represented by the UK flag.
Well, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Guy Platten, Chief Executive of the UK Chamber of Shipping. Guy, great to see you again. Thank you very much indeed for coming in and talking to us in the studio. As a country, we have a very great heritage, don't we, in terms of the shipping world, but there is increased competition. Why is the UK such a great place to do business?
Well, firstly, as you say, we've got a great heritage. We've got great infrastructure here. We've got a wealth of talent, a great maritime cluster. So you've got the ship owners and ship managers and law firms, accountancy firms, banks, all working closely together in that cluster, which makes us a great place to do business. However, other countries are starting to want to take that mantle from us. So we need to be very careful, and we need to ensure that we retain a great place to do our business.
The number of ships registering in the UK, though, is on the decline, isn't it? Why do you think that is?
Well, I form part of looking at the whole issue of the decline of the flag. The government commissioned a panel to have a look and to give them some recommendations as to how that could be declined. And you're right, we've lost about a third of the ships under the UK flag in the past 5 years. And that's not just in real terms, it's in market share as well, because the world fleet has grown during that period, and we're actually losing. And we looked at it, the UK flag, the red ensign, is still a great brand. It's a badge of quality. People recognise that. However, ship owners increasingly want not just quality, but excellent customer service, responsive customer service. And they need that to go hand in hand with a great brand as well. So what we focused on within the advisory panel is looking at how that could be changed. So we do have all the various elements of what makes a great flag to come together. And our ambition is that the UK not only halts that decline, but starts to grow again, because we know inherently that a strong UK flag indicates a strong maritime cluster, and that's got to be a good thing for maritime businesses.
OK, let's look at the bigger picture now and the idea about potentially leaving the EU. What would that have as an impact on the industry?
It's difficult to tell at this stage until we see the detail, and the details seem to be very scant at the moment. One thing is for sure, we are a trading nation. Shipping is an international industry. Therefore, the UK would continue to trade, regardless of what happens as an outcome of the referendum. But what we really want to focus on now is how can we see how the renegotiation that the government is promising works, and how does that affect shipping? So that's really is our focus. So I think in or out of the EU, that's down the line a little bit. To us now, it's about what does a referendum going to look like in terms of the renegotiation package that's offered to the people.
And the EU as a single market, does that work?
I think that's where we have our issues with. We'd like to see the market really work. The single market in concept is brilliant. But we do believe there's some barriers still exist within the single market. There's perceptions of some cabotage still in that we want to be able to go and do our businesses in all the countries around Europe. We want custom barriers and areas like that to be looked at, so it's just as easy to ship goods by sea as it is by road or other means of transportation. So let's really focus on how the single market can be made better, can be made freer. That's, to me, a good thing. I mean, it's interesting that whereas the rest of the world has grown in terms of economies, in Europe that's stagnated somewhat. Is it because there's some problems with the single market? And I think another thing as well, which we have concerns about within an industry, is that the industry is an international one. It's regulated primarily through the International Maritime Organization. What we want is the EU to focus on making the single market work better, rather than trying to duplicate work in the IMO and potentially add cost to ship owners and businesses based here by perhaps over-regulating or gold-plating existing international regulations.
It sounds like you are a very busy man. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your time with us today and your thoughts on the industry as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ensuring that the shipping industry has the right skills and infrastructure for the future is the subject of a government report released this autumn. The Maritime Growth Study is looking at our ports, regulations, security and safety. It also highlights the fact that the maritime sector underpins our economy and our way of life. Here's some background on the industry from our shipping correspondent, Joanna Simpson.
For centuries, the shipping industry has been a cornerstone of the UK economy, helping it grow. As an island, the waters around us are critical to our contact with the rest of the world, in both terms of trade and socially. A significant amount of produce, cars and other items manufactured in the British Isles are shipped abroad. 95% of the UK's imports and exports by volume are transported by sea. From the tip of the UK in Scotland, to the west of Wales, to the south of England, and across to the heart of the capital in London, the shipping industry sails along our major waterways and beyond, broadening the reach of the UK. Britain is regarded as the world's premier global maritime centre, according to the UK Chamber of Shipping. Each year, this sector directly contributes nearly £14 billion to the UK economy and supports more than 250,000 jobs. Now, new areas of growth need to be found to ensure its global reputation remains intact.
The direct contribution to the UK economy, when accounted for by gross value added, was £9.9 billion in 2013. Now, the direct effect is the effect of actually the operations of those companies who are directly operating within the UK. When you take into account the indirect and the induced effects, this multiplier effect then has the overall impact of increasing the value of the UK shipping and maritime services economy to £22.2 billion.
Ships and their cargoes have developed over recent years in terms of size, character and technology. The growth of the UK fleet has also been significant. It's now 3 times larger than in 2000. Britain's ferry industry is also reporting record passenger numbers of just over 39 million. The first maritime growth study is now underway to assess the state of the industry and spot opportunities. The government says it's assessing growth through trade and travel by encouraging commercial development by ports, ensuring effective regulation of vessels in UK waters, and working to improve maritime security and safety, including search and rescue capabilities. Underestimating the shipping UK's impact could have significant repercussions for the UK in the future. What are the consequences if this industry isn't supported correctly?
Well, the consequences are that the maritime sector dwindles and starts to wither on the vine. A large number of maritime sectoral industries, whether that be insurance, whether that be legal, whether that be banking, will simply just move to other countries. And we'll see the likes of Singapore, Hong Kong just grow very much at our expense. We'll see the UK flag continue to decline and possibly even more rapidly decline than it has done in the last 2 or 3 years.
Increasing the number of vessels registered in the UK is one way to help develop an internationally competitive maritime sector. With the volume of trade moved by sea expected to double in the next 20 years, it's key the UK isn't left behind. Some are claiming this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity that we can't let sail away.
The maritime industry is woven into the fabric of the UK economy and its institutions, supporting growth and providing employment. The contribution shipping makes is one of the country's greatest and most important industries.
The maritime industry is very important. It employs a very large number of people all around the UK. In London, we are very lucky to be in the heart of maritime business in the world because predominantly because of English law and Lloyd's, but also because of our banking system and because many of the insurers are located in London.
It's one of those very interesting areas where Britain actually has a leading role, and that I think is tremendously important. We suffer from the fact that it's a rather diffuse industry. We have the ship owning side, we have the port side, we have what we call professional business services. And all of these aspects are very, very busy. We've been working in the industry in recent years to speak with more of one voice. And I think this is a process which we will see continuing now, perhaps to embrace other areas of maritime and marine.
A huge amount of what we consume is imported, and a huge amount of what we make is exported. It's said that effectively 90 to 95% of what we buy has been sourced overseas. So shipping in the ports are vital, but not only that, but there's a very strong maritime tradition in the UK, and the UK, London particularly, is considered to be probably the preeminent maritime hub in the world.
Maritime safety is critical to the shipping industry, but when the unthinkable happens and there's an accident, the right procedures need to be at the ready for an instant response. Brooks Bell Group is a maritime consultancy that specialises in technical advice and casualty investigation. John Gibson reports now from Liverpool.
Seatruck's Power Ferry will be out of action for at least 2 weeks after suffering an impact to its stern. But if the company's boss is looking relaxed, he's had to deal with much worse than this minor repair.
The Riverdance was sailing in fairly normal winter weather on the Irish Sea, a series of freaky waves, a big cargo shift, and the vessel went to 45 degrees and stayed there. Lost engine power and ended up drifting onto Blackpool Beach.
That must be your worst nightmare.
Absolutely. No matter how much planning we do, work on safety, things in shipping, just like in life, sometimes can go wrong.
When the Riverdance washed ashore in 2008, Brooks Bell investigated the incident, monitored the salvage and arranged for the wreck removal which followed. The global marine consultancy deals with accidents around the world, but this one was on the doorstep of its Liverpool office.
Forensic accident investigation, that's what we're really good at, that's our core business. But we're into all aspects of the life cycle of a ship. So we're involved in design, we get involved in a lot of shipbuilding disputes out in Shanghai in particular. Everything to do with the operations of a ship.
The Brooks Bell Group is a multidiscipline consultancy with the added advantage that many of its experts have a seafaring background.
I knew the ship, I'd been on the sister ship as master, so that made it a little bit easier. So we start off with a 3 basic core team, which is let's say the master, the engineer and the naval architect. The engineer working on what plans we could do and how can we get it upright, will it refloat again, and then pull that resource together and advise the clients accordingly.
When refloating the Riverdance wasn't possible, the company organised the wreck removal. It also used the findings of its own investigation to help its owner learn lessons from the accident. John is based in Singapore, one of 3 of Brooks Bell's Asian offices, which gives the company global reach and further establishes it in the offshore and energy markets.
One is independence. We are wholly independent. It doesn't really matter who appoints us, we will report the facts and we will assist any tribunal, any court, any high court to understand the facts. So the independence is one side, and the other I would say is forensic. And I think those are the 2 areas that really set us apart from some of our rivals.
That forensic approach to investigation is underpinned by some of Brooks Bell's more specialist staff, including metallurgists. They get involved in a variety of onshore and offshore projects, everything from superstructures down to nuts and bolts.
Yeah, literally the nuts and bolts, or it could be something that's a bit more spectacular, such as the rudder falling off or the propeller falling off, anything where there's metal wear or degradation.
Brooks Bell also investigates machine failures and is often required to present its findings in court.
It's more or less like a murder scene. We document the situation photographically and in our notebooks exactly as we see it, even before we remove anything.
It also works with the owners of ships throughout their entire life cycle, using advanced simulation and computer modelling to improve design and help prevent tragedy.
This gets done on, say, high-profile cases like Costa Concordia, where we did flooding simulations, and we also carry out a lot of structural analysis now to help in wreck removals.
And by recruiting people with real maritime experience, Brooks Bell is helping to develop the next generation of marine consultants, like former tanker captain Ivan Todorov.
All my knowledge that I have gained throughout these years at sea, I was able to transfer to the office and apply it from slightly different perspective.
Expertise Ivan and his colleagues will put into practice wherever the next incident takes them.
Many of us have fond memories, don't we, of school holidays where a trip on a ferry was a special part of the excitement. Stena is the name that generally comes to mind. It's one of the biggest ferry operators in the world and the largest privately owned shipping company. Lucy Siegel reports now from Holyhead on a world-beating maritime success story.
Welcome to the famous port of Holyhead, owned and operated by Stena Line, where I'm getting some insight into the scale and scope of Stena's UK operations.
Stena is a family-owned business. Started with Mr. Sten A. Olsson, hence the name Stena, in 1939.
Since those days, the company has grown into a major global player, a fact you can't fail to notice as the Stena Adventurer docks in Holyhead. This state-of-the-art ferry features 3.5 kilometres of lane space for freight and room for 1,500 passengers.
Ferries have a very old reputation, and I have to say Stena Line have one of the most magnificent products on the sea.
We also have other important business units in the UK. We have the offshore drilling, which head office is in Aberdeen, and we have a ship management company in Glasgow, which provides services, crewing, maintenance and repairs of our vessels of all types, not only ferries.
In fact, 1/3 of all Stena's activities are UK-based, and it's hard to overemphasise the importance of a Stena-run port like Holyhead.
For Stena Line, we're carrying 2.5 million freight units a year. And to put that into context, that would be a queue of freight that would stretch around the world 1,000 times.
Ports are the silent partner in the logistics chain. We're the cog that makes the whole link work, and that's the way it should be. We should be seamless from the logistics customer point of view. But it's key that these guys want service 24/7, and it's key that the port can deliver that in a cost-efficient manner. Over the last few years, Stena invested heavily across the RSC. We made a large investment of nearly 80 million in a new port in Cairn Ryan. Behind us, you'll see yellow terminal tugmasters. And we've made an investment of £1 million in this port alone. And that investment gives us better efficiencies, lower pollution, and better delivery for our customers' products.
And much of that investment is in people. From a global workforce of 20,000 employees in the Stena Group worldwide, 1/3 of those are based in the UK, including approximately 6,000 seafarers and 1,500 onshore personnel.
And we make sure that at Stena Line, we empower our staff to go out there and look after the customer the way they believe they need to. They love their travelling at sea, they love working with us, and we love working with them.
Stena is also future-proofing its business by addressing sustainability.
We have a very interesting project in Stena where we have rebuilt one ferry for running on methanol instead of regular fuel, which reduces emissions tremendously. It's an interesting and fascinating technique and typical Stena project where the family, the owners, are prepared to put in a lot of resources in the future, not necessarily giving immediate profit, but building for the sustainable future.
As the UK tries to increase its competitiveness as a shipping nation, there's pressure for the industry to lower costs, but that isn't always easy. So increasingly, ship owners are looking to technical specialists for help with more efficient crewing and operations management. V-Ships has responded to industry needs with solutions for a diverse fleet of cargo-carrying vessels. Ed Barron reports.
The challenges facing modern commercial shipping are constantly changing and developing. Headlines across the world have shown the rescue and care of migrants at sea has become a huge problem in recent months. An estimated 1,200 commercial vessels were involved in search and rescues since the start of 2014. Last year, they saved around 40,000 people. V Group manage over 1,100 vessels worldwide, and they've recognised the complex issues inherent in the migrant crisis.
We equip our people to face these present challenges. Take an example of the rescue of migrants and refugees at sea. It's a new challenge which we face. We make sure that we give the accurate and appropriate training to our crew where needed.
One by one, okay?
V Group's training arm, Marlins, are working with UK-based charity Human Rights at Sea on developing a new e-learning course to address the issue. With shipping companies increasingly expressing concern about their involvement in migrant rescues, this is just one example of how V-Ship's technical specialists proactively respond to changing circumstances. V Group delivers solutions which help owners optimise their assets and perform effectively in challenging environments. V-Ships manage vessels in a way that can be relied on, minimising risk and taking the worry away for customers by staying at the forefront of regulatory changes too.
Keeping ahead of the complex regulatory environment is a real challenge for ship owners. For example, the ratification of the Ballast Water Management Convention and the US Coast Guard Final Rule means that vessels which discharge ballast water will need to be fitted with approved treatment systems. With over 70 different systems available, making a choice is complicated. V-Ships reduces the complexity for owners by helping them select the best system for their particular vessel and trading pattern.
The CSCL Mars docked here in Felixstowe is just one of the hundreds of vessels for which V-Ships recruit and train crew. And it's the people on board who make all the difference. With over 60 different nationalities employed, V-Ships places a strong focus on language and teamwork skills for its crew, as well as their expert technical knowledge.
I think that's good for especially cadets, because they can learning everything from our systems about navigation, about how to work, how to keep safety, etc. Our ship is clean, it's huge vessel, life is good, salary is good, everything good.
There's always pressure on the industry to maximise efficiency to boost the bottom line, and technical specialists can help budgets go further. V-Ships use condition monitoring to test the health of a vessel. By proactively performing checks while the vessel's in service, companies can avoid costly interruptions and delays.
Early detection of issues like excessive vibration can enable repairs to be made before you end up with expensive and potentially dangerous machine failure. Meeting deadlines is massively important in the shipping sector. It's very competitive, and delays by taking ships out of service can be costly. Condition monitoring helps ship owners keep an eye on the heartbeat of their ships.
Our promise is performance assured, and that's our commitment to provide the best possible service and deliver real value by looking after our clients' ships and people as if they are our own.
Whatever stormy waters and challenges ship owners may face in future, V Group proactively responds to the industry's needs, making sure every crew member on board and every piece of preparation and training performed is delivered to an exacting standard.
Finding bright new talent and developing maritime skills is one of the most important factors in ensuring shipping has a strong global future. The Fleetwood Nautical Campus of Blackpool and the Fylde College has met the challenge with outstanding results and an array of accolades and awards. We sent Nick Wallace to see what it takes to be a top-level cadet.
If you want to learn the art of seafaring, this place is one of the best in the world.
And I'm here to find out why.
The Fleetwood Nautical Campus is doing something right. It trains over 6,000 offshore students a year and has up to 500 maritime students on programme at any given time. Over the last 8 years, Fleetwood Nautical Campus has produced 7 of the 8 Maritime and Coast Guard Agency Cadets of the Year. Carly Smith is one of them.
Good morning, Nick. Welcome to Fleetwood Nautical Campus. Fleetwood is very unique in that it's like being part of a big family whilst you do work here. So I was a cadet here in 2006 became part of the team as it is then, and I'm now still here as a member of staff, because once you've been here once, you want to return. That's the kind of environment it is. Everybody's very professional, everybody's friendly, and everybody's here to help. The cadets learn not only about managing a bridge or managing an engine room, but they also learn how to prepare for emergency situations when they're on board a ship.
This is the infamous training tank, used for the sea survival sessions at the Fleetwood Nautical Campus. Cadets are drilled in sea survival techniques, including learning how to inflate and get into a life raft.
It's a prerequisite, it's one of the mandatory courses they have to do, because anybody, if they do work at sea, has the potential that they might end up in the water. In the event that something does go wrong, we have to give them the best chance of survival that we can.
Emergency training also takes place in open water at the nearby River Wyre training platform. Here the cadets are learning how to control modern lifeboats. Back at the college campus, cadets are being put through their paces in the engine room simulator.
This is an absolutely fantastic facility, really good, and all the cadets say it's one of the highlights of their studentships here. And as you can see, it's much more interactive, so they can actually go in there, look at the systems and think about how they might manage the engine room when they get onto their ships.
Where do you think the training that you're receiving here will take you in your career?
Hopefully this training that I'm receiving will take me right the way up to the top of the ladder, which would be chief engineer on board any ship.
To anyone thinking of coming here, I'd say get stuck in, don't think twice about it. The facilities are top-notch, the education's really good, yeah, it's really good.
And unlike a real ship, all we have to do to get from the engine room to the bridge is walk along the corridor.
This is Fleetwood Nautical Campus's state-of-the-art full-mission ship simulator, which gives cadets the experience of sailing into almost any port in the world at any time of day and in any conditions. It's also an appropriate place to meet the head of campus.
One of the things which we always put top of our list is that in addition to the academic qualifications which the cadets come out with, we realise one of our prime jobs is to prepare them for life at sea. We need to ensure that when that cadet steps on his first ship, or when the officer of the watch goes on the bridge or down below for his first watch, he is prepared for that moment.
What do you need from the shipping industry in order to do your job properly?
We need to continue the funding. We need to guarantee funding is secured for the continued training of British seafarers. Essentially, that's the most important thing. We need that confidence in industry to ensure that we put out premium quality, top-rate British officers into industry. There's been just over £10 million invested in the campus within the last 3 or 4 years with this refurbishment, and it's essential that we do keep at the cutting edge of technology with the bridge simulator and the engine room simulator, because that's what the cadets and the officers of the watch will experience when they're at sea.
Assessed as outstanding by Ofsted and twice commended by the Quality Assurance Agency, Fleetwood Nautical Campus has the optimum resources in place to equip all its cadets with the skills they need for a successful maritime career.
The shipping industry is blazing the way for new apprenticeship schemes. At a recent UK Chamber of Shipping event, we asked industry leaders about employment opportunities and why the Merchant Navy is considered to be offering more than just a job.
The maritime industry is somewhat hidden. There is no one organisation that is a huge employer. But when you aggregate all the various jobs that are related to sea transport, ports, and then the connections into the inland, we're talking at least 500,000 people earn their livelihood from shipping and shipping goods.
It's a tremendous industry, and it's one of the very few where you can go in the shop floor and there's nothing lower than a galley boy. He's even lower than the ship's cat, and work your way up and then come ashore, and there's so many opportunities ashore for people who have practical experience of being at sea.
One day I aspired to be a captain, so gained my Master in Limited certificate, competency. And also not just being at sea as well, obviously the UK is a huge maritime nation, so London is almost the shipping capital of the world. So there's so many opportunities ashore, so one day maybe I'll move into the city. I mean, you have shipbroking, maritime law, insurance, just to name but a few, so opportunities are limitless essentially.
At the moment we're working on the apprenticeship trailblazer, and the shipping industry has been selected as one of the trailblazers for the new apprenticeship schemes that will come in 2015. So we're really trying to get in at an early level with the young people to explain to them that instead of looking for a job at a young age, they should look for a career, and that's something that the Merchant Navy can offer, is a career for life rather than the old-fashioned term of a job for life. You can really have a career in the Merchant Navy. Start at 17 as an apprentice and you could be a captain in 10 to 15 years.
Recent statistics show that the current shortfall of seafarers is set to worsen. One company addressing this is Northern Marine Group, part of the Stena organisation. Northern Marine is actively encouraging the next generation of officer cadets with varied career opportunities and high-quality training. Reporter Robin Ross went to Glasgow to find out more.
Glasgow was once the world's centre for shipbuilding. Times may have changed, but the legacy lives on. Here in Clydebank, that rich history has helped to make Northern Marine Group a centre of excellence in ship management services, providing seafarers to a diverse fleet of vessels around the world. The company is part of the Stena Group and has several offices at strategic locations across the globe.
Northern Marine operates a huge variety of ships, from oil tankers of all types, gas carriers of all types, freight and passenger ferries.
Stena-owned Northern Marine employs 8,000 seafarers and 500 shore-based staff, servicing many international clients. A recent report found that the shipping industry will require an extra 42,500 officers alone by the end of 2019 to cope with growth in international trade. Northern Marine is one of the largest investors in marine training. It has 250 cadets from all over the world at any given time. This state-of-the-art training centre is used in partnership with Chevron to develop future seafarers.
Bridge, hello.
It's a 3-year programme. It doesn't matter whether they're a school leaver or an A-level leaver. It is dependent on the route they go down, whether it's engineering or deck. It is a sandwich course, so it involves time as academic in the classroom, both then at sea and also time within our facilities, our simulation facilities ashore.
Stephen Lee and Katie Van have just finished their courses.
Yeah, I feel very good about the future. I mean, throughout the college phase, they have been contacting you, making sure everything's okay, make sure you're all doing well in the academic side of it, and also when you're at sea as well, so it's quite good. They've all kind of kept in close contact.
I'll go back to sea hopefully in a few months as a third officer and carry on up the ranks to chief officer at least, hopefully captain one day.
So you want to be captain?
Yeah, one day.
And do you think that's achievable?
Yeah, I hope so.
As a company, on behalf of our clients and for Stena, we spend around about $25 million a year in training these young individuals and individuals to grow through their careers. So it's not just on the basis of being a cadet, that is day one. These individuals will need constant training throughout their career to get to the level of captain and chief engineer.
These training facilities are as good as you'll find anywhere in the world, and it reflects the investment that's taking place here in Glasgow and Clydebank to enable us to have a sustainable supply of first quality officers for the future.
Stena was established in 1939 and is still family run. Its values are upheld by Northern Marine.
We have a very high retention rate. It is around 92% at the moment, which is high for the industry, and I believe that is down to the way that we train individuals and the values that we hold as an organisation.
Good afternoon, Captain. It's Liam Dodds calling regarding your upcoming port call in Spain.
Some return ashore and use their experience to manage the ships from offices here in Glasgow and around the world.
The marine industry is very highly regulated, therefore you need very good quality people, both ashore and at sea.
The amount of cadets produced each year may be a drop in the ocean compared to those needed, but Northern Marine believe they're investing in the long term.
It's important to the company so that we can retain these individuals for our future growth. We are becoming more and more innovative, and therefore the skill set we need is becoming more and more complex. We bring them in from day one, and we can build on that and we can grow on that, and therefore keep the company sustainable for the future.
Grandfather and uncle were chief engineers at sea, so...
So you're going to be one?
Yeah, hopefully, if all goes to plan in the end.
The UK was once a world leader in shipbuilding, but global competition closed yards and destroyed jobs. But now, Red Funnel Group, the original ferry operator to the Isle of Wight, is helping to bring the building of high-speed passenger catamarans back to the UK. Nina Warhurst reports on the revival of an age-old industry.
Welcome to the Isle of Wight, home to 140,000 people and many more visitors, and all of them travel by ferry. 40% of that market belongs to Red Funnel. Last year they transported more than 3.3 million passengers. And having up to 450 members of staff makes it one of the island's biggest employers.
It is very cool. Most of all, I love that every day is different. You'd think that going back and to between Southampton and the Isle of Wight would get boring after a while, but it doesn't. It's such a busy waterway. There's much traffic to dodge, yachts. No day's the same, really.
Red Funnel have 3 vehicle ferries: Red Osprey, Red Falcon and Red Eagle, as well as 3 fast ferries for passengers: Red Jets 3, 4 and 5. The island has a rich history of shipbuilding dating back to 1623, but as the industry nationwide went into decline, in 1999 the last large passenger vessel was built on the island. That is, until now.
Just a few weeks ago we announced that we were going to have a new Red Jet high-speed catamaran ferry built. We're going to have it built here on the Isle of Wight. And that followed a long process of looking all around the world at all of the shipyards that build that kind of vessel. But ultimately we came to the conclusion that the answer was actually right on our doorstep.
Shamara Refit was chosen to build the state-of-the-art catamaran because of its innovative business plan, but also because they're based at the port in East Cowes, which means a £6 million injection into the local economy.
Now, most of the component parts are cut out in Southampton and sent over, and these numbers act as a guide for how it all pieces together to form the structure. Now, at the moment, there are 18 members of staff working here, including 2 apprentices, as well as 6 support staff. But as we head into the winter, there'll be upwards of 60 employees, and almost all of them are recruited locally.
What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to islanders that it is built here and it will be servicing these communities?
Well, I think the logo that we developed between Red Funnel and us sums it all up, really. It's for the island, by the island, on the island. I think, they'll be able to say for the next 20 years, I built that, and the little kids who say, my daddy built that, and they should be proud of it. So I think it's great.
That means a lot to people, doesn't it?
I think it does. Yeah, we can put a Union Jack on the side of it and say, made in Great Britain.
For young people on the island, jobs can be hard to find, so being an apprentice on Red Jet 6 is a golden opportunity.
Well, I've basically been putting together some of the frames, been doing the fuel tank, and just, learning about building the whole boat, really. It's been good.
What do you think it will feel like when Red Jet 6 sets sail in the summer of 2016 and you can look at it and go, I was a part of that?
Yeah, that'll be a good moment, really, because I'll be using it quite often. People I know will be using it, and you can just say, I built that. So, yeah, be proud, really.
One of the main aims of building Red Jet 6 at home is to make communities across the island feel like they're a part of it. Here at the Isle of Wight Studio School, pupils have been invited to help critique and design the development of the vessel.
It's really important, I think, that local people, local children, understand and own the challenges of such a build. They will understand how the manufacturing systems work, the challenges that Red Funnel face.
Red Funnel hope that Red Jet 6 won't just bring communities here closer together, but also act as an inspiration for homegrown industry across Great Britain.
One of the biggest problems facing the maritime sector is the global shortage of seafarers. But careers at sea are attracting the attention of a new generation. UK maritime colleges are some of the best in the world, offering rewarding careers that open up a world of opportunity. Joanna Simpson has more.
A life on the ocean wave beckons for these students as the numbers of people going into the maritime sector is increasing. With more than 700,000 16 to 24-year-olds currently unemployed, this is one industry that is creating jobs. Those who've experienced it say a life at sea is rewarding, exciting and challenging. Fenna Boyle did just that. She left school at 16 and having worked her way up to become a navigator, she's now back on shore helping future seafarers find the right role for them.
You can go in as an officer, you can go into rating, you can work in hospitality. There are so many shoreside roles you could get into with the transferable skills you learn from being an officer. The list is endless.
There is currently a global shortage of seafarers. The Department of Transport's annual statistics estimate that in 2014 nearly 23,000 UK seafarers were active at sea. There were 300 more officers. That's the first annual increase since 2010. Many are hoping it's a trend that will continue, as they say the UK is uniquely placed to fill the gap. The UK Chamber of Shipping states Britain has world-class maritime colleges and training institutions. Its reputation for providing highly skilled seafarers comes at a price. Currently, nearly 2,000 officer cadets are in training. That's the second highest level for more than a decade. The plan is to broaden the options for people going in as ratings as well as officers. The government says it's assisting seafarer training through the Support for Maritime Training scheme known as SMART. This now covers just over a third of the cost of training a new seafarer. In 1998, it was half the cost, with shipping companies left to pick up the rest.
It's not an expensive course for the individual. For the shipping companies, clearly there is a considerable expense, but they know that in recruiting and providing the training for UK officers, they are securing the future of excellent officers for themselves and for the international shipping industry.
Currently, more than 250,000 people work in the shipping industry in the UK. Whether it's on land or at sea, the financial rewards are competitive. But this is the second most expensive country in the world to train seafarers. Some now say that as many people continue into shore-based maritime careers, it's unfair for shipping companies to shoulder the majority of training costs and want more government help. The government has increased SMART funding from £12 million to £15 million in 2015. Industry leaders warn we must continue to create more jobs as demand for skilled seafarers worldwide is only expected to increase. Those trained here should be retained to strengthen the sector within the UK.